Hikari Senju is here, and he is the founder and CEO of Omneky. That's OMNEKY.com. Omneky is a cutting-edge platform that leverages generative AI to create personalized advertising content across all digital channels. So we're going to find out about this exciting world of AI-powered marketing, where advertising is headed in the next 5 years. So Hikari, glad to be speaking with you.
Thanks, Robert, for having me. We're really excited to share more about Omneky and to have this conversation with you for your listeners.
Likewise, and a lot of what we have to do and take action on begins with the awareness and the understanding and wrapping our heads around this idea. And AI is such a crazy, fast-paced space. And it seems like with advertising in particular, there's like this shift towards AI, right? It seems like a lot of with the like Meta ads, Google ads, etc. It's like they want less of the targeting and keywords, and they're just like, hey, let's try this on our audience, and we'll let the AI figure out like what's working and refine it with that. And so I'm curious and excited to stay ahead of the game and to make sure that those ads work and that everyone wins. And so tell us what we need to know about AI and advertising.
Sure, absolutely. Well, AI has been in advertising for some time. Meta and Google, they've been buying tons of GPUs for some time for ad targeting and better serving the ads in a more relevant way to their users. I think what's changed now is not just the serving and the targeting of the ads, but also and the recommendation that kind of powers these platforms, but also the content itself. And this is where the challenge now is in all these ad agencies, marketers, they're inundated with new tools, every week, new breakthroughs every week. It's becoming increasingly noisy, and we're just and so what we do is we provide a end-to-end workflow tool and solution for businesses that are looking to use Gen AI not just to create better images or more quickly like edit an image, but to drive better success, better outcomes in their advertising. That really spans the whole gamut from better analytics and better insights and using AI to get better insights to generating better ideas backed by data, better collaboration with your team, better collaboration if you're an agency with your customers regarding brand management and brand materials and brand assets. And then yes, generating and scaling creative assets using AI. But we really view ourselves as a solution for agencies and marketers that are looking to incorporate Gen AI in a more end-to-end way than just, I'm going to try this tool here, I'm going to try that tool there, to drive better efficiencies in their team. Maybe your marketer and your marketing team can now do 10 times the amount of work they could previously do with our kind of end-to-end workflow, better cost savings, and then also ultimately better results.
Well, very nice. And so there's definitely some missing gaps or missing links in the process, right? Like you say, sometimes you slap in a tool in there. You say, well, we'll use Canva, we'll generate some stuff, we'll use DALL-E, but then so many times you're guessing, right? And it's like such a fast pace, and we always need to like crank out so many images. And then from my limited understanding of AI, sometimes you see these use cases where you dump out the analytics and then feed them back in, and they give you like insights on the ads. But I've been sort of frustrated with that, right? When I say like, they say like, well, post put your social media on this times a day, and I'm like, well, that's great, but what's actually working? And so I'm curious to find out about how does this workflow tool work? Like, what are like the inputs and outputs as far as someone using AI to generate better ads?
Right. So the workflow is customers upload their brand assets. Step number one, the brand guidelines, the brand assets, the product photos. Our AI will extract, vectorize those assets and create kind of a brand guideline brief for you. You can also just straight up read your brand guideline brand brief. The next step will be to connect your ad networks that you're running media on. So your Meta campaigns, your Google campaigns, your Reddit, LinkedIn, etc. We then use the API integrations with those platforms to pull insights regarding what types of content is driving clicks, driving sales. And then we use both the brand information and the performance data to first generate ideas for you that you can comment on, approve, edit. It comes out in the format of a creative brief. So ideas for your campaigns with data backing those ideas. And then it generates the actual creative content itself. So if you like the idea, then we'll go and execute that idea with AI, and then scale that asset. So particularly if you you know if a product has many, or if a company has many SKUs, you want to take one asset and scale it to thousands of different SKUs you have, or you're targeting different audiences for a single SKU. You need to create variations there. So then the iterations and the variations is kind of the the the, the next step in terms of scaling the content that we've generated for you. And then there's a kind of the last step, which is approval. So if you're an agency, for example, you want to send those ads to your customers for approval, and so customers can approve that content, provide feedback on the content you've sent them, um, and also if you're a brand, you can also provide feedback on the content we've generated for you.
Very awesome. Well, this tool sounds amazing, right? As far as you get an account, you set it up, you give it your brand guidelines, you look at the content that's already working, and you connect to all the different platforms. I mean, whenever there's a new tool, there's the fear of like, well, will it be too complicated? Will I have to learn it? And so it sounds like when someone starts using Omneky and they click around, it just kind of like it's helpful, right? It generates some ideas. It says, hey, here's what it can work. And so I'm curious about when people start using your tool and having fun with it. Sometimes the interesting stuff about AI is that new ideas come up that you never would have thought of, right? It's like having a different brain. Or sometimes there's like the counterintuitiveness, and you say, well, hey, like I didn't think this kind of ad would work, but then based on the actual data, like here's what you should do. And so, do you have any fun stories to share along those lines of like someone using Omneky and like being surprised at the suggestions or the results, or like getting new creatives that they otherwise wouldn't have thought about?
Yeah, so our case studies are on our site, and you can see the results we've delivered for the customers. In general, we deliver on average about 2x increase in return on ad spend with our tool and our service. And so we have a tool customers can go in and use our workflow, but we also have a professional services component that can deliver these outcomes for you as well. And this means not just generating the content or editing the content, but also the media buying and kind of that last loop as well. So once you've launched the ads to the platforms, there's a whole other step, which is buying the media, targeting the right audiences, having the right funnel for in terms of awareness campaigns, and middle of the funnel and kind of bottom of the funnel kind of conversion oriented campaigns, and so and ad sets. And so we do that whole kind of end to end. And by us really doing that, customers do see in general 2x increase in return on ad spend, because we're creating better relevant content for customers and delivering better results. I think there was, for example, an interesting use case of an idea that what our AI came up with for one of our kind of consumer finance products customers, and it's just like having a human hand hold the card in the ad, and then so we created these ads then with a human hand in it, and it delivered better results. So the AI does come up with novel ideas that sometimes that people wouldn't have thought about on their own, and then that drives better outcomes.
Well, great. And you're mentioning this idea here of like working with the AI, and I find that it took me a while to get on board with that concept. And I think sometimes we need like a kind of reminder about it. Like there's all this promise of AI, right? Like all this stuff will be automatic and it'll just run itself. But then when we start to use it, we say, well, there kind of has to be a back and forth, right? The AI gives you all kinds of interesting ideas, hand holding the product, but then it's up to us humans to kind of course correct that. And so do you have any advice along those lines when someone uses your tool and it like generates all this stuff? There's the tendency to be overwhelmed or not know what to do next. So like what do you have to say about like working with the AI, or like what kind of like mindsets do we need to get into to use your tool properly?
Yeah. So I think like generative AI is, I think at this point, I think your audience is playing around with it. It's not always 100% accurate. It's not, it does still have issues. It's getting more accurate and more reliable every day, but there's still issues. there's this kind of next step breakthrough that's been done, which is kind of agentic or chain of thought, or basically the AI, goes through the steps and kind of reasons through it, and then also kind of potentially creates different like duplicates of itself to like try it different times and kind of make sure that, because sometimes one kind of agentic system could kind of go sideways. And through that kind of these kind of innovations have been done kind of at the inference step or the generation step, the outcomes have been more accurate. And so in terms of the ways that people can interact with AI today, I think there's kind of the best practices last year, which was you kind of have to be involved in every step and really make sure you're checking the AI. To now today with agentic systems, you have these various like research products have been released by these AI companies as well, that does deep research through this kind of agentic process. Actually, now the outcomes are quite consistently good, and you can actually trust those outcomes. And so, I think my suggestion is kind of like imagine like you're you're kind of like at co-pilot stage today, but like quickly entering full self-driving, and kind of have that mindset that today maybe you're working so imagine if it's like a self-driving car, for example. Today you're kind of your hand is on the steering wheel even as the car is self-driving, and you kind of have to make sure you have to check and make sure that the outputs aren't weird or it's not doing anything strange, but hopefully this year really it's going to be full self-driving, and you can just kind of rest at ease. And so that mindset, I think, is good to have regarding consumers using and just businesses using AI products.
I love it, and it's at first I didn't understand it when they were like a few months ago when they, like all the agentic and like multi-step logic was like talked about a lot. It took me a while to understand it, but then I was like, okay, it's like it's kind of the AI can be random and creative, and then by having the multiple steps, we just kind of like add some constraints, right? We sort of shape it with some kind of logic, and like even like this podcast we're doing now, in a future date we'll dump out the transcript, we'll generate it into a blog post, and like I used to get frustrated because like the results were all over the place, but then when I was like, hey, step 1, make the outline, step 2, do the keyword research, step 3, like build out those different pieces, it was kind of like guiding it to where it wants to go. And like even like the self-driving cars you mentioned, right? Like I saw some screenshot a few months ago of like what the display or what the logic is, right? And it's like, well, we identified a stop sign here and we want to make a left turn, but we see in the crosswalk there's a human. I was like, okay, that it makes sense. It's not just about like go and do some randomness. Like there's certain like specific inputs and outputs or things that it looks for. And so that's helpful as far as just kind of navigating this and avoiding the frustrations. And speaking of frustration, being a business owner, entrepreneurship, building something cool such as Omneky, it's full of frustrations, right? Full of problems. And so I'm curious, just from like the entrepreneurial perspective and like the building something that's cutting edge, like what kind of struggles have you dealt with in creating the software, growing this company?
Gosh, I mean, I feel like um, you know, I think an entrepreneur, right, is active, is an act of defiance, right? It is an act of will, and there's like there is I mean, it is a sequence of obstacles. There some of the obstacles are kind of environmental, obviously incumbents, competition, um, kind of the innovations in terms of the underlying technology. Then there's and the market opportunity and kind of the awareness of the market in terms of opportunity. I think we faced that early on in life. I mean, the company was founded back in 2018. We're really the first Gen AI advertising company, the first mover in the space, and then to now, um, you know, and then there's the challenges of having scarce resources, bootstrapping the company, making ends meet with very limited resources, and really just eating what you kill in terms of sales, and using the profits themselves to fund the operations and the research, to raising capital, hiring managers, managing managers, um, in a more competitive space, where the technology is also rapidly, kind of accelerating, and then kind of, how you need to shift strategy and focus there. So and then there's those sets of challenges as well. I think, you know, but that said, you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying new things, and yeah, I mean, a lot of the things aren't going to work, but that is, there's like that, Michael Jordan quote, which is like, you miss like 100% of the shots you don't take. So you do need to. And then I think it was a really interesting stat, which is like, Michael Jordan, or like Kobe Bryant is one of the all-time scorers, but he's also one of the all-time misses as well in terms of shots on goal. And so there is that element where you do need to just keep trying and like just lift yourself back up and keep going.
I love your mindset and your strategy here. And what I'm getting from it is that we need to be informed and look at the data and just figure out what kind of game we're playing in. Because a lot of what we're trying to do, like you say, entrepreneurship is an act of defiance. But people have bootstrapped before; they've done startups before. There's so much to be learned, and say someone was an up and coming basketball player, right? Say there's some 8-year-old out there saying, "Hey, I want to be the next Kobe Bryant." You look at what they did and you say, hey, well, I'm not just going to get there by luck. Like they practiced their tails off, right? They did so much of the training. So that's what I need to do. And it seems like that gets us to be more well informed. And that way, when we do, set aside the time, take the action, do the strategy, figure out the logical and emotional hurdles, we can say, well, hey, I've kind of seen these other templates, blueprints, or what other people have done before me, and then I'll apply that to my situation. Of course, we're all different and unique, but there are lessons to be learned from these people and the LinkedIn articles and the books and people like you. And so, as far as what you've achieved and what you've built, like, would you say is there something either about like you as a person or you as a company where you really excel, where you really are unique and stand out better than anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's the fact that I study computer science, the focus on AI and artificial intelligence at Harvard. I cross-registered at MIT for studying AI. I got very excited about generative back when I was in college, when I was seeing the AI generate, at that time, very poor quality images, but still images nonetheless. And in fact, we're based in Silicon Valley, at the heart of the revolution, and and so we're very and we're very focused on this advertising use case. I think that is pretty novel. I think there are a lot of these ad apps. Maybe they're based in other parts of the world that aren't as AI focused in terms of like innovating in terms of AI and and like for us, what we're focusing on is we want to bring the cutting edge AI to deliver business outcomes for you, for your business, for your agency. We built a bunch of these tools ourselves to help, whether it's ideation or analytics or insights or scaled creative generation. You can import PSD files and scale them with our tool. And then let's craft the right solution for you so that your business or your agency can see 10x outcomes. And so we kind of come at it with a mindset of humility and learning, and not being overly constrained in terms of like this is we're Canva, this is the use case, and this is the editor, which is I think great, and but we're really more focused on delivering a business outcome or solution for that marketer.
I love it. Well, it's a lot to navigate, but it's also exciting because a lot of the time when you see these AI products or use cases, I think like, man, it's impressive, but how does that affect me, right? Like there's always the hype about like calculating black holes, and they'll say things like, this is the most advanced computation in all of human history. I'm like, that's great, but like, I don't, as a everyday person, like, how does that change my life? And then even you look at like all these like social media algorithms, right? They optimize for what you want to see, and like that's great. How does that help me? But now you're talking about making sales, right? Making conversions, growing a business,
Right.
and changing the outcome there, and that's exciting for a lot of us. And so you mentioned
Right.
sometimes. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I mean, one thing I want to note there is that like marketers are inundated with like tons of noise today with all these tools that some of them are in beta, some of them are live. Some of them are just announcements, and they're not live yet. And some of them are real products that that can deliver value. But the marketer is trying to wrap their head around all this and figure out, well, how does this improve my business processes? How does this help me actually deliver outcomes? Okay, cool, I can generate um, product video. We can do that. I can generate product video, but what does this mean then for photo shoots? How does this incorporate into my asset creation workflow and launching the workflow? How does this turn into powering my digital asset management tool? Or Omneky also has an asset management tool. So um, how can I mix my generated assets with my existing assets to create compelling content, have like a good throughput of creative outputs? That whole workflow to deliver a business outcome is what we're here. We're here to be a partner for business owners, to help them cut through the noise and ultimately achieve the business outcomes that they're seeking, utilizing our tools, and utilizing state-of-the-art generative AI.
Very exciting. And it's important to rise above the geekiness, isn't it? To say, well, hey, like we made this amazing tool, but what's also important is saying, well, here's where you as an agency are stuck, and here's where things aren't quite ideal, and here's how you can then integrate it without it being this big extra hassle, this big monstrosity. And so I'm curious about like what type of business is this for? Do they need to be like certain size, certain level of achievement? How does someone know if Omneky is right for them?
So we're focusing on mid-market agencies and the brands that they serve. Um, so um, that is who the product's designed for, and the solution is designed for.
And like, do you say like, should someone have like a certain like amount of revenue, certain number of employees in order to like have the best use for this?
Yeah, so I would say somewhere along between 10 to maybe 1,000 employees, but probably closer to like the tens or hundreds of employees is really where we're focusing on. Particularly if you're an agency, it's probably on the lower end there. Um, uh, yeah, and then and in terms of revenue, sub-billion revenue companies.
Well, wonderful. And so what's the next step here? I know we have omneky.com. That's OMNEKY.com. You go there, you see some screenshots, see what it's all about. There's a button to book a demo. But I'm curious about your opinion. If someone listens to our podcast and they say, man, what Hikari shared with me, is great. Omneky sounds amazing. I want to check this out. Where should they go?
Book a demo. We're here to first hear your problems and your challenges that you're facing in your marketing and advertising, and then we're here to see and see how our tools can help you solve those challenges, and our people are here to help as well. And so book a demo. We're here to listen, and then work together to help. Ultimately, the pitch here is every agency is turning into an agentic AI agency. Every marketing team is turning into an AI marketing team, and we're here to help you with that transition. We want to be the platform that powers the transition of your agency into an agentic AI agency. We're here to power the transformation of your marketing team into a agentic AI marketing team and advertising team, and um, and we have a series of tools that we've built to help with this. And if agencies, big and small, using our tools today, we have many brands, big and small, using our tools today, and we're confident that the solutions we've built can help serve your needs.
It sounds like it. You've touched on so many amazing ideas and features, and I love the way that you put that about how the AI transition, it's already started, it's happening, and you hear the hype about how you can get with it or get left behind. And so you're saying that if an agency is concerned about this change, they really need to focus on it. Don't go it alone. Don't keep doing what you've already been doing. Get the additional help from Omneky. They have great people. They have great software. Go to OMNEKY.com. And on the bottom corner of the screen, you'll see there's a button to book a demo, listen to their needs. And that's also really important and underrated in business and in software, right? Getting that feedback. And those software companies that succeed are the ones that are always talking to the customers, the prospects, saying, hey, here's where we're stuck, listening to your needs. That way you get the features dialed in. That way you get the marketing dialed in. omneky.com. Book a demo, OMNEKY.com. And so, Hikari, at the very end of our show here, it's time to stump you, perhaps put you on the spot slightly, and ask for a fun quote or lesson that has served you in life or in business that you can pass on to us. So, what comes to mind for you as far as a fun quote or lesson?
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as an entrepreneur, I think, it's you battle, right? It's a battle every single day is a battle, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started a company in college, which I sold, and so been an entrepreneur essentially for my entire career. And I can say that my favorite quote that I keep going to, actually, there's numerous quotes about this, but one of my favorites one is by Winston Churchill, which is like never, 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 never give up. That like um, especially in AI, because the space is changing so quickly. And you hear about so many companies that overnight go from money losing to very profitable because suddenly there's some innovation in AI, and that totally changes unit economics. And so, um, you know, like it's important to like obviously be learning and be hungry and have a learner's mindset, but also to be willful and and um, be and be a little bit stubborn in terms of your vision and not give up. And so that would be kind of like my advice or quote is you haven't failed until you've given up.
That is inspiring. Figure out a way to make it work. And don't stop at two or three nevers. Keep going with the nevers and figure out a way to innovate or go through it, go around it, go under it, figure out a solution. And the solution that you can and should look into as far as scaling sales with data-driven creative is from omneky.com, OMNEKY.com. Generate thousands of personalized marketing assets quickly with AI, ensuring brand consistency and optimizing for various markets and channels. Omneky.com, book a demo, you'll love it. And thank you, Hikari, for showing up, giving us all kinds of logical, practical advice, but also the inspiration, motivation. I really appreciate what you brought to the table. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. It was really a pleasure.
All right.